Hello, we'd like to welcome y'all to the 2021 Steer Show. We want to recognize some amazing student athletes. And if you don't think they're athletes, somebody holler who left the gate open, and they'll show you what kind of athlete they are. Anyway, these are our senior class, and we want to recognize them. Come on out, guys. First off, we have Emily Gordon. She attends Lake Wales High School. She's going to enroll in the FBI Academy. We have Chloe Maldonado. She attends Lake Wales High School. She's going to become an ag teacher. We have Hunter Bourne. He attends Word of Life Christian School. He's dually enrolled in Travis as an electrician. We have Alex Young, attends Fort Meade to become a farrier. Bailey Jones attends George Jenkins. She's going to go Florida Southern and study pharmacy. We have Marissa Dawes. She attends Frostproof High School. She's going to attend Warner and become agribusiness. We have Brooke Zorn. She attends George Jenkins High School. She's going to go to UF for a large animal vet. We have Taylor Gutman. She is George Jenkins High School. She's going to go to HCC as a vet tech. We have Kristen Steller, George Jenkins. She's going to attend South Florida as business. Sarah True attends Frostproof. She's going to go as a ag business degree at Warner. Hunter Roberts, he attends BHS. He's going to get his degree in marine mechanics. We have Katie Clark. She attends Kathleen High School. She's going to go to UF as biochemistry. Crystal Carlson at Kathleen, University of South Florida, nursing. Harley Rayburn. Kathleen also attends Travis Tech. She's going to get a degree in nursing. We have Brianna from Monroe from BHS. She's going to go to ACC as a dental hygienist. We have Carly Friedank, George Jenkins. She's going to go to University of Florida, vet. We have Miss Peyton Chanling, Lake Wales. She's been accepted to 6 schools, and she hasn't decided which way she's going to go yet. These are some hard-working students, young adults. Let's give them an applause.
Let's give these seniors one more round. I'm going to tell you it's going to be, they have some, those juniors and younger ones have some big shoes to fill, because I remember when a lot of these guys were 8. So that tells you I've been here for a very long time. My name is Samantha Summerlin Tomlinson. I am the chairman of the Steer Committee, and I just want to welcome each and every one of you and thank each and every one of you for coming, being patient through everything that we've had to go through this year. They're going to remind you to keep your mask on and to do your social distancing, so please do that. Don't sit where any of the squares X's are. But I also want to just let you guys know, tonight is going to be a great show. These guys have worked really, really hard, and I hope you guys enjoy it. We are going to say this. Right now, we are good with our numbers. If we have a large crowd come in, we are going to have to ask some people to leave. We might have to even disinfect. But if we can keep our numbers low, which we're doing the best we can, then we can all stay in for both shows. Good? All right. Thank you guys, and enjoy the show.
As many of you may know, our judge tonight is Mr. Ryan Rash. Ryan Rash is from Crockett, Texas, and grew up showing every species of livestock. During his junior show career, he exhibited 13 Grand or Reserve Grand Champion steers at major livestock shows all over the United States. He graduated from Texas A&M University, where he was also a member of the National Champion Intercollegiate Livestock Judging Team. During his collegiate judging career, Ryan placed in the top 10 individuals of every collegiate contest he entered, as well as placing in the top 10 of oral reasons in every contest, and was the highest point individual at 5 contests. He is a host of the Beyond the Ring podcast and he owns and operates SBCC, a cattle company and consulting firm that has an incredible track record. He has selected and all supervised the Grand Champion or Reserve Grand Champion steers for junior exhibitors at Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, and the Grand Champion steer at the Houston Livestock Show 6 times, and the Reserve Grand Champion steer at the Houston Show twice, and the Grand or Reserve Supreme heifers at San Antonio, Houston, and Austin 7 different times. He and his family have a club calf operation as well as a purebred Charolais and Hereford operation. He has judged both nationally and in every species of livestock at shows from the local to major show levels throughout the U.S. and 43 states, Canada, and Mexico. If we will all give a warm welcome to Mr. Ryan Rash. I also would like to give a warm welcome to the lady who is going to be giving out the trophies and ribbons to the fellow children. Her name is Blair Buchanan, and she's the 2021 Polk County Cattleman Sweetheart. And now for Class 1 of the Open Steer Show, we have Elizabeth Bailey, Hog Wild 4-H. Bryson Walls, Be a Champ 4-H. Annabelle Crandall, Southern Variety 4-H. Carly Frederick, George Jenkins Sr. FFA. Lily Lambert, Be a Champ 4-H. Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, an honor and a privilege to be here with you tonight to sort through the cattle and work with the kids. As we start in on Class 1, to be honest with you, I don't know if there's a right answer to how this lines out. There's going to be an official one here tonight, and that's the way they are. Because depending on your emphasis or your preferences, you can sort these out and justify them several different ways. The silver-colored calf that's going to win takes the look and the presence of the steer in second and combines it with the muscularity and the power of the steer in third. So he's the common denominator of the group. He is one that has some meat animal shape. He's long in his side. He's attractive in his presence. He's a calf that doesn't handle quite as nicely as what we need to, but that's come to be expected. They're all in the lower 1,000s in terms of weight. If I'm going to change him, he needs to be more correctly assembled out of his hip and down to his hog when he strikes the surface. But he's one of the 3 sounder cattle in the class that, combined with that extra power, gives him the nod. The best structured, best looking steer comes in 2. The black steer is the soundest in terms of his feet and legs. He is attractive in terms of his show ring look, even though he has some American influence in him. I like that calf's body build. He's the best handling one here. He simply needs more muscle, and you can see that when you get behind him and on top of him. Power that guy up and he runs to the top of the class quite easily in this judge's opinion. The most powerful steer comes in 3. He is the heaviest muscled. He is the stoutest one. He's one that's just not good enough at the ground. As you study him up front or off of his rear too, he's got to be more correct in terms of his structure and his ability to move up in this class. One of the other sound moving steers is the red calf that comes in 4. Again, I like his strength of top. He's attractive in terms of his lines. He too needs more muscularity. He needs to handle with more finish out here tonight. Finally, we close the class with the silver steer that has more power. That steer's the driest in terms of his rib, the lightest in terms of his finish, and quite frankly, of the class, even though he has some power up high, he's just too cylindrical in terms of his body type. All 5 of them do an excellent job. Give them a nice round of applause.
The winner of Class 1, Lily Lambert from Be a Champ 4-H. And second was Annabelle Crandall from Southern Variety 4-H. Now for Class 2. Now, for Class 2, we have Trinity Hilsham from Still Squealin' 4-H, Paige Blankenship from Bartow Middle FFA, Harley Rayborn from Kathleen Senior FFA, Jasmine Perez from Southern Charm 4-H, and Malaki Whitley from Bartow Senior FFA.
Move into the second class. The black steer's the logical and easy find out here. Study him in terms of the power, the substance that steer maintains, yet he's excellent in terms of his degree of finish. He's really burly in terms of his foot and bone. One that's really cool in terms of his body make and build. He's a calf that I'd like to clean up through his front end and chest. He wants to arc in terms of his top when we get him in motion ever so slightly. But even with those things evident, that's the overwhelming dominant force in this particular class. Silver steer that comes in two, again, really good in terms of shape and power. He's a steer, though, that doesn't have the added depth of body. He's not as smooth in terms of his transitions, and he's a calf that doesn't handle himself quite as nicely off of his front end, but there's simply more of that guy than the calf that comes in third, that I like the strength of top, the straightness of lines that one displays, one that is deep in terms of his side. He's too bare in terms of his finish, too light in terms of his muscularity, and a calf that wants to snap, crackle, and pop his pasterns when we put him in motion. Young lady's doing a nice job with a calf out here that doesn't want to be a show steer tonight, but she's stuck with it, and that calf is the heaviest finished one out here. Really been fed well. One, though, that's just not as attractive in terms of presence, and a calf, too, that we could power up, but he's closer to his terminal endpoint than the calf that comes in five that has more muscularity, particularly up high. He's a longer-sided, better-looking steer. He just needs more days on feed to be competitive. Give him a nice round of applause.
First in Class 2 was Harley Rayborn from Kathleen Senior FFA. Second in Class 2 was Paige Blankenship from Bartow Middle FFA. While I have a minute, I want to thank some of our sponsors: Southern Homes, S&G Garage Doors, All American Furniture, Dixie Charms Customs. And now, for Class 3 of the Open Steers, we have Luke Waters from Bartow Middle FFA, Ansley Evans from Mulberry Senior FFA, Emma Kendia from Southern Variety 4-H, Dylan Fox from Southern Variety 4-H,
Having an interesting trio on top, and again, I think the red steer kind of combines some of the things that the next two do into one package, because that's definitely the steer that has the most topside power and mass. As you study him up high, he handles with the greatest degree of finish. He's a steer that's long in terms of his side. He's more correct and level out of his hip. He has more slope and angulation to his shoulder and knee than the calf that comes second. I'd like to make him more attractive in terms of his look and aesthetic, especially through his front end, shoulder, and brisket, but in this particular class, he's the one that I choose to start with. KFN2 is more attractive. He's cleaner in terms of his throat latch. He's tighter in his chest. He's a longer neck, deeper body, bolder sprung steer of that pair that still has ample muscularity to him. He's a calf, though, that as you study him out of his hip, he's shorter there. He wants to get, when he gets going from behind, he really wants to peg and plant off those rear two, and he's too straight through his shoulder and knee, but there's just more shape in that individual than the calf that comes in third that is really cool-necked and fancy-looking in terms of extension. One that's the longest-sided calf in this class, good in terms of his depth of body. He's just the lightest muscled one in that top trio, and when we put that guy in motion, he's a little close in terms of his hocks, wants to get underneath himself in terms of his rear two. Then the calf that comes in four, very long-sided, handles well, doesn't have the total muscularity or show ring presence of the ones above him. Give him a nice round of applause.
Your Class 3 winners, Dylan Fox from Southern Variety 4-H, and Ansley Evans from Mulberry Senior FFA. Just a friendly reminder, please keep your mask on. It's getting pretty crowded. And now, for Class 4, we have Jaden Black from Showing Out 4-H, Emily Kaysen from Kathleen Cattle Crew 4-H, Brooklyn Cribbs from Auburndale Senior FFA, Colton Nichols from Southern Variety 4-H, Chasey McCrimmon from Bartow Middle FFA, Wyatt Renfro from Auburndale Senior FFA, Gracie Benefiel from Auburndale Senior FFA, and Abigail McAfee from Lake Gibson Senior FFA.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your mask on or we will have to ask you to leave. Please keep your mask on or we'll have to ask you to leave. Thank you for your understanding.
Get out here in this class, and I can promise you a black one was going to win from the start because they're all that color out here. A nice class, lots of differences, and the top two are polar opposite in terms of their type and kind, and I think if we could gel those two together, then we'd have that Chinese ninja of County Fair champion cattle out here. That's not the case, but they offer the best of this particular class. There's no doubt that the steer in one is just the most powerful in terms of his total muscularity. He is really shapely up high, thick and square out of his hip, and he's definitely the one that's more intense and aggressive in terms of his bone and foot. He's a long-sided steer that handles well. I need to see him deeper in terms of his body, rounder in terms of his rib, drop him in that flank ever so slightly to make him more ideal, but there's just so much more stoutness and market readiness in that animal. He needs to win. That is a good-looking one that comes in two, and I love that one's head, neck, and shoulder. That one is really attractive in terms of silhouette, and if we could just give that one more stoutness, more power and shape, he could win for me quite easily. It's just not there. He's too frail in terms of his bone and foot. He doesn't have the overall meat animal shape required to go on and win the class, but he's so attractive, he needs to stand in second. We just got a calf in third that's the next soundest of any of them that are left, and one that's long in terms of his spine, not as good looking as the one in second, not as powerful as the one in first, but just a nice steer to fill that void right there in the third place hole. The calf in fourth is rugged in terms of his design, powerful in terms of his shape. He's too bare in terms of his handle. The calf in five is really bold-bodied, soft in terms of his belly, handles well, got to have more muscularity and power. Then we run into a pair of steers right here, very similar in terms of their type and kind. The differences is the one that comes in sixth is square in terms of that one's hip, a little rounder in terms of that one's rib. The calf in seven is more attractive through the front one-third of his body. And then the calf that we closed the class with out here, again, you like that one in terms of the length of neck. That calf's the lightest muscled and the barest handling. Give him a nice round of applause.
Alrighty, I just want to do a correction for Class 3. First place in Class 3 was Dylan Fox from Southern Variety 4-H, and second place in Class 3 was Emma Candia from Southern Variety 4-H. Now for Class 4. In first place, we had Wyatt Renfro from Auburndale Senior FFA. And in second, we had Emily Kaysen from Kathleen Cattle Crew 4-H. All right, now for Class 5. We have Riley Allard from Mulberry Senior FFA. Alex Young from Fort Meade Middle Senior FFA. Bailey Jones, George Jenkins Senior FFA. Kayla Healy, Auburndale Senior FFA. Titus Hilschmai, Bartow Senior FFA. Elizabeth McDowell, Orange Blossom 4-H. Hunter Bourne, Southern Variety 4-H.
moving to this class out here, and my mother always tells me I'm way too honest, but it's worked so far. If you don't think that silver one needs to win, you can pack up and go home, because we're not going to see them the same. That's the easiest thing we've had to do all night, ladies and gentlemen, and that is one good-looking, stout, burly built one that can still get out and move, and he handles quite well. Very nice one, young lady. Congratulations to you. The calves in 2 and 3 are very good and could have won almost any other class we've seen tonight. They just get in here with the bars horse and just can't make it work. I love this yellow calf's shape. I love the way that he handles. He's really attractive in terms of his look too. He doesn't move as well as that calf in first because he's shorter out of his hip, and that's evident as he travels out of his hip and in his hog and to the surface. But that calf's fresher in terms of his appearance than the calf that's in third. That no doubt of the ones that we've seen, that one's the most built like a Kardashian in terms of muscularity and power, and I dig that in that show calf. Quite simply put, that calf's past his prime. In terms of 12 o'clock, you can study it through his head. He's too mature. He just needed a show about 60 days ago, and it'd been probably a little different story, but you have to admire the power and width. Completely different type of calf comes in 4, attractive, good looking and sound, doesn't have the stoutness and the overall muscularity of those above him. The one that comes in 5 is got more muscularity, definitely more powerful out of his hip. He's not as good in terms of his rear running gear. He's drier in terms of his rib. The black calf that rolls around next, I like the body build and the rib that this calf has. He handles well. He's got to have more bone foot, and he's got to be more attractive. The black and white stocky-legged steer is better looking and longer sided. He's the most unorganized in terms of his skeleton. When we put him in motion, he's the harshest handling one of the class. Really good steer to win, ladies and gentlemen. Give him a nice round of applause.
For Class 5, your winner was Bailey Jones from George Jenkins Senior FFA. Second was Alex Young from Fort Meade Middle Senior FFA. Just another friendly reminder, please keep your mask on. Please keep your mask on. We're trying to make it where everyone can watch both shows, so please keep your mask on. And now, for Class 6 of the Open Steer Show, we have Truman Taylor from Kathleen Cattle Crew 4-H. Madeline Nichols from Kathleen Cattle Crew 4-H. Marissa Dawes from Frostproof Middle Senior FFA. Connor Lamb from Southern Variety 4-H. Sarah Clanton from Fort Meade Community 4-H. Kendall Sowell from Bartow Senior FFA. And Cheyenne Labar from George Jenkins Senior FFA.
I will tell you, I do appreciate y'all's enthusiasm for these kids. That's not something you get at every county fair, and so that makes it a lot more fun. With that being said, this is the same song, second verse to the last calf. That calf has to win. That is one giraffe neck, good-looking one that is so correct in terms of the finish that he has laid on. Very good and bold in terms of his top shape. One that's very powerful in terms of his meat animal shape and still handles it well in terms of his running gear. Again, congratulations to you, young lady. The calf in second is no slouch by any means. He's ultra big in his body. He's got plenty of shape and power. He's really nice in terms of his head and neck, shoulder set. He's a calf that's bare in terms of his handle than the cattle on either side of him. And he's a steer that when we put him in motion, study him out of his hock into the ground, he's just not as correct, straight, and true there as the steer that wins. Little one's doing a good job with one that's not wanting to be a show steer out here, but that calf fits in third quite nicely because that one's very solid in terms of muscularity, handles exceptionally well, still good in terms of feet and leg structure. Got to be more attractive in terms of presence. Got to power that one up at the ground in terms of width and dimension. The KF in 4 is really attractive and long-sided, and he's simply sounder than the remaining cattle in this class. He needs more power and he needs more muscularity, and I realize that, but he's so much more correct in terms of his shoulder. That bald-faced calf should have stepped on me and not her. I'm the one that put him forth. But the white steer is one that, again, very heavy muscle, but he's too out there in terms of his structural integrity. As you study him through his shoulder and knee, we got to reel him in terms of his corners. Calf that coming around next, the black calf, very powerful, fed well. He's got to be more attractive in terms of his look. The black and white calf that we closed the class with, long in terms of his spine and side. Simply put, he needs more days on feed to be competitive, and he's got to be more powerful from the ground up. Give him a nice round of applause.
For Class 6, your winner was Kendall Sowell from Bartow Senior FFA and Sarah Clinton from Fort Meade Community 4-H. And now for Class 7, we have Kristen Steller from George Jenkins Senior FFA, Quentin Dixon from Kathleen Cattle Crew 4-H, Crystal Carlson from Kathleen Senior FFA, Ava Trevino from Southern Variety 4-H, Mackenzie Hawley from Rockin' Riders 4-H Club, and Miss Lily Harwell from Hoof and Horn 4-H.
You know, when you travel the country going to these county fairs, you never know what's going to happen or what's going to show up. And I tell you what, these past 3 class winners, really, really good ones at the top. And it's going to make the Grand Drive fun here in a minute. That is one sexy, good-looking one right there in the front of the line. Study that one in terms of his show ring presence and silhouette. Really unmatched so far as we've seen tonight. Love that one's poise. Evidently, she or somebody else likes him because they spent as much time on that one's hair as I did my own. And that's a lot, I promise you. And so, again, super attractive sound at the ground. You know, are there steers that have been in this show that have more total shape and power? Yes, there are. Does he have enough? I believe he does, especially in this class, and I love to look at that one. Congratulations to you, young lady. KF in second has got more shape and power. One that's really stout and muscular, very rugged in terms of his design. We got to clean him up in terms of his sheath, make him more attractive in terms of his show ring aesthetic, but one that fits in the second hole quite nicely. The black and white steer in third is one that's very powerful, really heavy muscled, one that breaks and separates in terms of his top line, gets underneath himself in terms of his movement. The KF in 4 is ultra big bodied and smooth. In terms of his degree of finish, he's lighter muscled and he wants to hit the surface too hard off either end of his skeleton. Young lady with the American influence, KF can flat stick one, ladies and gentlemen, and I appreciate that about her. And that KF is really attractive in terms of look. He's just too bare in terms of his handle. Gotta have more total muscularity and rib, but he is more correct in terms of the way that he's assembled through his shoulder, knee, into the ground than the KF that we closed with. That is heavier in terms of his degree of finish. He's bolder in terms of his body. He really gets straight and outside of his skeleton off either end. Nice class. Give him a good round of applause.
For Class 7, your class winner was Miss Lily Harwell from Hoof and Horn 4-H and Miss Ava Trevino from Southern Variety 4-H. And now for Class 8, we have Brooke Zorn from George Jenkins Senior, FFA. Paige Dupree from Lake Gibson Senior, FFA. Jacob Briggs from Frostproof Middle Senior, FFA. Hunter Brantley from Frostproof Middle Senior, FFA. Carly Taylor from Hoof and Horn 4-H. Just a friendly reminder, please wear your mask or you will be asked to leave the premises. Please don't ruin it for everybody. Please wear your mask.
Another good class of 5 cattle. The steer at the lead is one that is so correct in terms of his body build and yet very shapely in terms of his top side power, really square in terms of his build, and still retains a show ring presence and look through the front 1/3 of his body. He wants to arc in terms of his top line and get tense in terms of his spine. He shuffles ever so slightly off of his rear tube, but that's getting critical on a high quality show steer right there. Congratulations to her. The calf that comes in second, very youthful, and that's why he stands in second. He's fresher than the calf that comes in 3. More attractive in terms of his head, neck, and shoulder, longer in terms of his side, and more correct in terms of his feet and leg structure. Not as powerful in terms of shape of the cattle on either side of him, not as far along in terms of degree of finish, but I like that one's type and kind more than the yellow calf that comes in 3rd. Ultra duty, heavy muscled one here that's raw and rugged in terms of bone and foot. Again, as we said a time or two earlier tonight, this one's just past 12 o'clock in terms of youthfulness and freshfulness. Study that one in terms of the crest on the top side of his neck. Just got to send that one back about 60 days for him to be in terms of his prime. The silver calf in 4 is really good in terms of muscularity and body, and that's why he gets over the calf in 5. He's too straight and stilty off either end of his skeleton. Young lady does a nice job with one that's long-sided and attractive looking. Got to build that one wider from the ground up, and he's the best handling one in this class. Give him a nice round of applause.
For Class 8, your winner was Miss Brooke Zorn from George Jenkins Senior FFA. And in second was Miss Carly Taylor from Hoof and Horn 4-H. And now for the open show grand champion drive, we have from Class 1, Miss Lily Lambert. Class 2, Harley Rayborn. Class 3, Dylan Fox. Class 4, Wyatt Renfro. Class 5, Miss Bailey Jones. Class 6, Miss Kendall Sowell. Class 7, Miss Lily Harwell. And Class 8, Miss Brooke Zorn.
Really a good lineup to pick the Grand and Reserve out of the open steer show. Give these kids and those that helped them get here really nice round of applause. And again, not to take anything away from the first 4 class winners or the last class winner, those are all good steers. The heat of the battle is the 3 from 5, 6, and 7. And they're very, very good. And the biggest problem that I have is there's only 2 banners, so one's going to get left out. I will think it's a decision that's relatively close, so I'll go through and describe those to you so you can see what I see in them and what I'd like to change. And I'm going to have to get critical because the quality's just that good. I love that silver steer shape. He is Chewbacca-legged and the most powerful one in terms of muscularity. Love the mass, and yet one of those 3, probably the soundest moving one of all 3 of them, even though he has that added power, muscularity, and shape. I really think he goes very well off either end of his skeleton. He's a calf that in terms of his rib and his handle, you like those things about him quite well. Well, you say all those good things, so what's the negative? Of the 3, he's the least attractive through the front 1/3 of his body. He's the shortest in terms of his neck. He's the thickest in his throat latch, and he's just got a little extra chest compared to the next 2. Does that calf still read with the show ring look and presence? Absolutely he does. But when they're at this level, you have to just critique them and get down to the fine-tooth things. That's where I want to change that calf, is right there through his head, neck, and shoulder. The black steer, white steer that comes next, the longest spine, another one that's very heavy in terms of muscularity, square in terms of his build, one that is ultra attractive and long in terms of his neck, thin in terms of his throat latch, tight in terms of his chest. And you like those things. He actually handles better than what you think when you get off on him, because of the trio of the steers, he's the tightest in terms of his rib. He's the highest in terms of his flank. I can handle that because proportionality goes right well. My biggest problem with the steer is study him through the front 1/3 of his body. He wants to twist and splay out up front. He gets straighter through his shoulder and knee than the cattle on either side. Then we have the calf from the last class, and again, drop dead good looking is the best term I have for that one. Just so attractive in terms of design and silhouette, reeks of show ring presence out here. I think he's ultra good in terms of his body build. He handles well. He's a steer that's awfully full out here tonight, and because of that, he's wanting to tie up in terms of the top side of his spine ever so slightly, and he's never he's never going to be quite perfect in terms of the way that he goes hock to ground. Not saying that calf's unsound at all. Again, these are little bitty things that are give and take here. What you have to decide on that one is there just enough muscle in that animal to go on and let him win. And if there is, he does win the show, and if there's not, he doesn't. And that's a decision that all of you would have to make if you're standing out here, because tell people all the time, I have an opinion. This young lady's got an opinion. This one right here's got an opinion. And if we all had the same opinion, there'd only be one show a year, and there wouldn't be a whole lot of fun with that. The problem is you're going to have to deal with my opinion here in just a minute on how this gets sorted out. But it has been very enjoyable and fun. Again, I love the excitement and the enthusiasm that you as a crowd has displayed. And again, this program is very important to me. It's evident that it's very important to y'all. And there's just no better place to raise a child or a young person than in a show barn and a show ring. And we need to remember that. And again, there's going to be disappointment here tonight. I get it. I judge shows all over the country every single week. Sometimes you don't even make one person happy, and I understand that part of it. But remember that the true product that we're raising is the kids holding on to the halter and not the cattle standing inside of it. Keep that in your hearts and mind. We'll all be better off. Give them a nice round of applause. I'll show you the Grand and Reserve.
Your grand champion, open steer, is Miss Lily Harwell. And now, entering the ring is Miss Ava Trevino. Your reserve open grand champion steer is Miss Bailey Jones. We're gonna go ahead and take some photos. So please stay in the stands until we get all the other steers out. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. We are going to, you guys keep taking your pictures, do your thing. Those that are not taking pictures, we're gonna ask you guys to step out. We are over capacity, unfortunately. But with that, we also have to sanitize, and then we will be letting back in the commercial parents. If we have room, we will let in some of the others, but we have to make sure we get our commercial parents in as well. So if you guys don't mind, if you're not taking pictures, please go ahead and exit at this time. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much for coming.
Welcome back. We're going to let a few more people in just a few minutes, but we're fixing to start the
Commercial portion of our show. And I don't know, a lot of you parents do know what that means, but there might be a lot of people out there in the world of TV that don't. The commercial show is built up, was created by some local producers. Those local producers are Polk County producers that have taken their cattle and they have sold it to our children in a lottery auction, in a lottery way, so that these kids have an opportunity to show cattle for a reasonable price. But they are Florida Polk County cattle, so we are extremely proud of that. And I want to have these producers come out here tonight so you guys will know who they are, and they really deserve a well-rounded applause, because without them, we couldn't have this show, and a lot of these kids wouldn't have the opportunities that they have. So we just appreciate their time and what they do. We're going to start with Clark Ranch. Evans Family Ranch. Where are you guys at? Come on down, Mr. Perry and Paxton. Lightseed Cattle. Mr. Carey, I don't know if he's going to come or not. He had a little bit, he'll stand up. Just wave your hat for me. He's on crutches. And then we have Diamond Sea Ranch from Polk City, Florida. We have Grape Hammock. Barrett, where are you? I don't know where he's at. And then we have G7, Doc Jukich. You guys were always looking for new producers, so if you're interested in that, please make sure you get with myself or Mr. Keith or Tasha in the Youth Fair office, and we can get, oh, and here's Mr. Barrett with Grape Hammock. If you are interested in being a producer, please get with Tasha, Mr. Keith, or myself, and we can get that process started for you. Thank you guys very much, and thank you guys very much. We appreciate each and every one of you, and let's start our show.
Good evening, and for those of you that do not know, tonight's judge is Mr. Ryan Rash. He is from Crockett, Texas, and grew up showing every species of livestock. During his junior show career, he exhibited 13 Grand or Reserve Grand Champion steers at a major livestock show all over the United States. He graduated from Texas A&M University, where he was also a member of the National Champion Intercollegiate Livestock Judging Team. During his collegiate judging career, Ryan placed in the top 10 individuals of every collegiate contest he entered, as well as placing in the top 10 of oral reasons in every contest, and was the high point individual at 5 contests. He is a host of the Beyond the Ring podcast, and he owns and operates SBCC, a cattle company and consulting firm that has an incredible track record. He has selected and supervised the Grand Champion or Reserve Grand Champion steers for junior exhibitors at Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, and the Grand Champion steer at the Houston Livestock Show 6 times, and the Reserve Grand Champion steer at Houston twice, and the Grand or Reserve Supreme heifers at San Antonio, Houston, and Austin 7 different times. He and his family have a club calf operation, as well as a purebred Charolais and Hereford operation. He has judged both nationally and in every species of livestock at shows from local to major show level throughout the U.S. and 43 states, Canada, and Mexico. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Ryan Rash. And now for Class 1 of the 2021 Market Steer Commercial Steer Show, we have Katie Clark from Kathleen Senior FFA, Jack Durker from Southern Charms 4-H. Colby Smith from Southern Variety 4-H. Todd Donnelly from Hank City Senior FFA. Olivia Foreman from Bartow Senior FFA. Mackenzie Shirouse from George Deacon Senior FFA. And Mary Margaret Batson from New Horizons 4-H.
First class in the commercial market steer show here. The calf that wins does so quite easily and logically. That's the show ring-oriented steer of the group. As you study him in terms of his side view presence and silhouette, one that's still functional in terms of his hind leg, handles fairly good in terms of finish for one in the lighter 1000s of weight, and just again, the best looking, most show ring-oriented of the group. He's got enough muscularity. We'd like to stouten him up, especially in terms of his bone and foot, but but in this class, compared to his peers and contemporaries, the logical calf to lead off with. The steer in second is the best handling one. He's really good in terms of his body and rib. He's extra stout and rugged in terms of his bone and foot. He wants to sway and settle in terms of his top line. He's not as correct and fashionable out of his hip, and he doesn't handle his rear hike and hawk as nicely as the calf that wins. I really like the muscularity and the fun-colored calf that comes in 3, powerful up high, round in terms of his rib shape, not as attractive in terms of his look, one that's a little more cumbersome in terms of his movement, especially up front. Young man's doing a heck of a good job holding on to this yellow calf out here. I just jinxed him. And that calf really has a nice shape, especially in terms of his top side power. He's thick and powerful out of his hip. He's too dry in terms of his rear rib and flank. Then we have a calf coming next that's just the best bodied one of the next 2. Needs to be stouter and more correct in terms of the hind leg presence. The remaining 2 cattle are long in terms of their extension and silhouette. Both of them need to be built wider from the ground up. Of that pair, the black calf that comes around in 6 is one that's just a little nicer in terms of his shoulder. The calf that we close with, again, very long-sided and extended. Got to build that one wider from the ground up. Give them a nice round of applause.
For Class 1 of the commercial steer, your winner was Miss Katie Clark from Kathleen Senior FFA. And second was Miss Olivia Foreman from Bartow Senior FFA. And now, for Class 2 of the commercial steer, we have Miss Peyton Chanley from Lucky A's 4-H, Chase Sturden from Winter Haven Christian FFA, Jesse Bennett from Hog Wild 4-H, Taylor Gutman from George Jenkins Senior FFA, Reagan Durden from Winter Haven Christian FFA, and Ethan Walker from Hoof and Horn 4-H.
Once again, a logical find in terms of the silver-colored calf to win the steer class. Easily the steer that has the most mean animal shape, one that's ultra good in terms of his topside power and mass. Still long in terms of his silhouette, fairly flexible in terms of the way that he moves. He's a calf, if I'm going to nitpick on him, sure. I'd like to thin him in terms of his throat latch, make him more attractive about his head, neck, and shoulder. But in this particular class, the obvious choice. The calf that comes in second gets there because he's just the best handling calf in this particular group. One that's very mellow, fresh, and firm to the touch. One that still has some true muscularity and width, and he just has so much more fat cover on him than the calf that comes in three, that's attractive and long-sided, square in terms of build, a calf that's just too bare in terms of the way that he handles out here tonight. The calf in four, the black steer, is bolder-bodied and deeper-sided, one that you appreciate those things about him. He's not as correct in terms of the way that his hip is assembled, and that's evident as he gets out and moves around the ring. KF in 5 is one, again, been fed well, got some topside power, not as attractive in terms of a show ring aesthetic or balance, but again, there's more of him than the calf that we closed with. That again, this young man's done a good job feeding this calf. He's excellent in terms of his finish. One, though, that's just the shortest in terms of his neck. He's the most cumbersome in terms of the way that he moves around the arena. Give him a nice round of applause.
Your Class 2 winner is Miss Peyton Chanley from Lucky A's 4-H. And your second place was Miss Taylor Gutman from George Jenkins Sr. FFA. And now for Class 3, we have Chloe Maldonado from Lakewell Senior FFA, Dustina Garcia from Hank City Senior FFA, Caitlin Robertson from Lake Gibson Senior FFA, Leah Ormond from Lakewell Senior FFA, Kylie Thomas from Rowdy Ropers 4-H Club.
get out here in this group of 5, and the black steer again, just the solid choice of the group. I don't know if that calf overwhelms you or overpowers you in any one attribute or area, but one that's very good in all the ones that matter in terms of his muscularity, his meat animal shape, his finish, yet he's still correct in terms of his body build, and still puts together some show ring presence in terms of a side view silhouette. No doubt that the yellow steer is longer spined and one that's really good in terms of extension. He breaks and separates behind his shoulder. He's not as fashionable out of his hip. The red baldy calf in third is the best handling calf of the entire class. Been fed exceptionally well. I like his soft, mellow cover. He's one that's good enough in terms of his look. He's drier in terms of his flank, and he doesn't have the total product or shape of the next two. Black calf that comes around next just is wider in terms of the way that he's built and constructed than the calf that we closed the class with. Both of these need to be better in terms of their running gear. The silver and white steer is one that's long as a well rope in terms of extension, attractive in terms of front end. He's just the nearest in terms of the way that he's built and assembled, and he's the steer that's the nearest in terms of his gauge and range of motion. Give him a nice round of applause.
For Class 3, your first place is Caitlin Robertson from Lake Gibson Senior FFA. Your second place is Kylie Thomas from Rowdy Ropers 4-H Club. For Class 4, we have Brooke Dykes from Lake Wells Senior FFA. William Dykes from Dundee Ridge Academy FFA. Gabriel Chanley from Lucky A's 4-H Club. Brianna Monroe from Bartow Senior FFA. Nathan Van Diver from Lake Gibson Senior FFA. Landon Donnelly from Dundee Ridge Academy FFA. Bailey Dykes from Lake Wells Senior FFA.
Moving to this class out here, and probably the closest decision at the top of a class comes in the top two steers here. Subtle differences between them. The yellow steer is more correct in terms of his hind leg. The way that he travels around the ring, he's more stable and secure in terms of his pastern. Those are the primary advantages he has over the calf and two. With that, there's actually more muscle and shape in that steer, which you wouldn't think at first when you see them when they walk in the ring, but there is more power and substance in that individual. He's a calf that's not as correct in terms of his body or his rib as the steer that comes in second. He's not quite as stout in terms of his bone. Those are the things that make it close, but he's sounder, he's more functional, and he has more muscle. The calf in second has been fed quite well, handles exceptionally well. I love the added body proportions in terms of his roundness and arc to his rib. I love his rugged appearance. He's a calf as you study him through his chest. We need to tighten him up there. Watch him as he goes right now. You can see he's not secure enough in terms of his rear pastern when he strikes the surface. That's the main reason he gets second in this particular class. Yellow steer is the longest sided and perhaps the most attractive in terms of his head, neck, and shoulder of the class. He's a calf, though, that doesn't have the overall substance, power, and width of the two ahead. We got a calf coming around here in four that I like the body shape. I like the squareness of build. He's too frail in terms of his bone and foot. He wants to short stride and get restricted off either end of his skeleton, but he's simply got more total product than the bald-faced calf that rolls around next. That's attractive in terms of pattern and silhouette. Got to build him wider from the ground up, but he's more correct in terms of his handle and his functionality than the next two that are both very long-sided cattle that are just too bare in terms of their handle. They're both cattle that need more total product and muscle of that pair of black cattle on the end. Young man standing in six is one that's just a little more attractive in terms of shoulder. The calf that we close with, again, long side, heavy muscled. Got to make him better in terms of structural integrity. Give him a nice round of applause.
Your winner for Class 4 is Miss Brooke Dykes from Lakewell Senior FFA. And second was Bailey Dykes from Lakewell Senior FFA. And now for Class 5, we have Miss Emma Durden from Lakeland Christian School 4-H. Miss Emily Gordon from Lake Gibson Senior FFA. Miss Caitlin Monahan from George Dickens Senior FFA. And Miss Sarah True for Frostproof Middle Senior FFA.
It's probably the longest class of 4 in my judging career, if I'm being real honest. Before we go any further, I'm just going to tell you right now, we all need to keep cool heads. This is a kids event. Let's remember that. And we're going to work through whatever problems we have, but we don't need any more of what happened just right here, okay? Just remember that. Since they are all stirred up and everybody's feeling a little bronky out here, we're going to place them. That silver steer's the easy thing to do. He is extra burly in terms of his build, stout in terms of his muscularity, handles the best of any cattle that we've had out here in this particular show. Still has some look through the front 1/3 of his body. I'm not going to tell you that one's just gorgeous in terms of his head, neck, and shoulder. What I want to do is I want to change his rear tires. If we could make him straighter and squarer from hock to ground, be a lights out proposition, but he's still very, very good. Black calf comes second because he's the second most muscular and he's the second heaviest finished. He's not as elite as the calf that comes next. Young lady with the pigtails is going to be third. Of the 2 steers that are given problems, that calf has more finish and more muscle. The calf that comes in 4, longer sided, better necked. They both need to be built wider from the ground up. Give those young ladies a good job on working through a difficult class.
For Class 5, the winner was Miss Sarah True from Frostproof Middle Senior FFA. And second was Caitlin Monahan from George Deacon Senior FFA. For Class 6, we have Miss Kendall Curtin from Rowdy Roper's 4-H Club, Hunter Roberts from Bartow Senior FFA, Grant Walker from Hoof and Horn 4-H, and Miss Briley Weatherington from Lakewell Senior FFA.
The black brockle-faced calf wins because he's the soundest moving, most correct in terms of his build. He handles nicely and he puts enough power and substance together. No doubt that the silver steer that comes in second, definitely the most shapely. He's the biggest backed, he's the thickest in it, and he's the most intense in terms of his bone and foot. He just doesn't handle himself quite as nicely in terms of structural integrity. He's not as attractive in terms of his show ring look. The calf in third is very long-sided and has more finish than the calf that's in 4. Both of these cattle need to be heavier muscled and heavier structured. The calf in 4, very long-sided, really extended, just the barest handling and the lightest muscled in this particular group. Give them a nice round of applause.
The winner for Class 6 is Mr. Hunter Roberts from Bartow Senior FFA. In second came Miss Kendall Curtin from Rowdy Roper's 4-H Club. While we have a minute, let's thank a few more of our sponsors. Kelly Buick GMC, Buckman Ranch, Evans Family Ranch, in love of memory of KJ Smith Cow Hunter Whips, Future Home Inspections, Stephen Helen Nichols, Roberts Family, Check-in Flag Graphics, Simpsons Ranch, DCT Farms, Colin and Jen Grimes, Ridge Youth Agriculture Foundation. Thank you all, and if you guys can do a And now for Grand Drive of our commercial steers. In Class 1, we had Miss Katie Clark. In Class 2, we had Peyton Chanley. In Class 3, we have Caitlin Robertson. In Class 4, we have Miss Brooke Dykes. In Class 5, we have Miss Sarah True. In Class 6, we have Mr. Hunter Roberts.
Well, I know it's getting late and these cattle are getting frisky and ready to be somewhere else other than the show ring, but these kids worked as hard just as well as the previous ones. Please give them and everybody that showed in the show a nice round of applause. If I'm being perfectly honest, I can tweak every single one of them in terms of their structural integrity. I think when you call that a wash, the champion becomes very obvious after that, and then the reserve will fit in there quite nicely. And I've talked the cattle enough. Again, they're getting tired and they're getting antsy and they're wanting to go back to somewhere else. I don't know if it's the stall or home, but they don't want to be in here anymore. But, in the other champion drive, we talked about this program and the kids, and that's important. There's another group of people important too, and that's all of y'all. And that's the people that put on this show and the people that do this and keep these kids involved in the greatest youth program in the world. And I understand as much as anyone that there are days and times where we'd rather do something else. Probably not watch the news, but watch Netflix or go on a vacation or, just do something instead of head to the barn and help those kids feed the cattle, rinse the cattle, and all that. And the reason we do it is we know it's going to make them the winners, the leaders and changers in the game of life for the time that they spend in this program. But so I want you to know that you're not underappreciated. When I was a kid, I never told those people thank you enough. And so I challenge all of you to make sure you go back and you tell those people that helped you get here, thank you. You tell these people that ran the show a thank you as well. But the one thing about it, ladies and gentlemen, what sums up what you do, there's a quote that says, 100 years from now, it will not matter the type of house I lived in, how large my bank account was, or the type of car I drove, but the world might be changed because I made a difference in the life of a child. From me to you, thank you for making that difference in these kids' lives. With that said, I'll go show you the Grand in Reserve. Give them a nice round of applause.
Your grand champion commercial steer is Miss Sarah True. And now, entering the ring from Class 5, we have Caitlin Monahan. And your reserve grand champion commercial steer is Miss Caitlin Robertson. After these pictures, in just a few moments, we will have showmanship.
Again, it's getting late, and these kids are tired, and these cattle have had it. Showmanship is something that is very important to me. It was important to my family, and it is important to every kid that I help or place a calf with, because I tell people all the time, not everyone is going to have the ability to have the grand champion steer. We can all be the grand champion kid, and you do that by winning showmanship. With that being said, I have seen them all go once before, and showmanship for me is pretty much decided in the first 20 seconds that they hit the ring. Y'all don't want to hear that, and I get it, but you can tell from the moment they hit the gate who has the presence, the confidence, and the ability that's pretty much going to sort it out. And again, showing at 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night is not ideal in terms of a showmanship contest. I understand that. The grand champion is going to be that young lady right there with the green bow. Even though that silver steer's giving her a heck of a hard time, she did an excellent job in class. So that young lady right there is going to be reserved. We're going to finish up with this young lady right here with the silver calf to be third. Give them all a nice round of applause.
In first place for your junior showmanship is Miss Madeline Nichols. In second, you have Miss Elizabeth McDowell. And in third, you have Lily Lambert. And now, for the intermediate showmanship, Heat 1, we have Lily Harwell, Kylie Thomas, Kendall Curtin, Paige Blankenship, Mackenzie Hawley, and Luke Waters.
I guess we have 3 heats of the intermediate showmanship, and again, they only give 3 prizes. These 2 young ladies will come back for the finals. Went through and talked to these kids, told them what they did well and what they can improve on. Give them a nice round of applause as they go back to the barn.
In Heat 2 of intermediates, we have Landon Donley, Emma Candia, Quentin Dixon, William Dykes, Jack Durker, and Reagan Purdon. Again, another nice set. These 2 young ladies will advance. Give these gentlemen a good round of applause as they head back to the stalls. And now for Heat 3 of Intermediate Showmanship, we have Connor Lamb, Ethan Walker, Carly Taylor, Jaden Black, Ava Trevino, Elizabeth Bailey, Colby Smith, and Hunter Brantley.
Again, a hard-working group of kids. Please give them a nice round of applause for their efforts.
And now, in the final drive of Intermediate Showman, Lily Harwell, Mackenzie Hawley, Emma Candia, Chasey McCrimmon, Hunter Brantley, and Carly Taylor.
All right, as we get out here with these 6 finalists, give them a nice round of applause. Again, if you're a parent, you're not going to like to hear everything I say in showmanship, and that's okay. You can't look like this and dress like this and go to livestock shows all over the country and not ruffle a whole bunch of feathers. But girls are naturally better showmen than boys. And that is not me, that is Mother Nature. Because girls have a greater ability to focus and concentrate, and they have more poise than boys. I didn't make those rules, but that's how it is. And so that's why more times than not, you're going to see more girls be more competitive. This is a really good group of 6. And in the intermediate age and division, normally that is the toughest age group of showmanship, because these kids have been around the block long enough that they have a good feel for it. They understand what they're doing. They haven't got quite as many hormones and as old to think that they're smarter than all of the rest of us. And so that's why this group is normally very consistent and probably the best. And I think this is a really good group. I am that person that showmanship is going to be decided if I have the grand champion steer sitting back there in the back, and I can pick any kid on the grounds to show that calf and know that that one's going to get it around, that's who's going to win showmanship. I'm also that person that if you have the grand reserve, 3rd, 4th, and 5th best one, then you're going to get all 5 holes. That young lady with the grand champion steer is the best showman, so therefore she's going to win again here tonight. Congratulations to you. 2nd best showman is this young lady right here. 3rd best showman is this young lady with the Brangus. Give them a nice round of applause.
Your winner for intermediate showmanship is Miss Lily Harwell. 2nd, Carly Taylor. 3rd, Mackenzie Hawley. And now, for senior showmanship, Heat 1, we have Brooke Zorn, Jesse Bennett, Crystal Carlson, Sarah Clanton, Harley Rayborn, Todd Donley, Gabe Chanley, and Emma Durden.
First of 4 heats, give these kids a nice round of applause. We'll bring these 3 ladies back for the finals.
And now for Senior Showmanship Heat 2, we have Kristen Steller, Emily Clark, Katie Clark, Leah Ormond, Taylor Gutman, Bailey Dykes, Sarah True.
Again, another nice heat. Give those 3 individuals a good round of applause. Y'all go hold over there.
And now for Senior Showmanship Heat 3, we have Brianna Monroe, Annabelle Crandall, Brooke Dykes, Chase Sturden, Chloe Maldonado, Grant Walker, Jacob Briggs, Marissa Dawes, and Sarah True.
Big heat, good heat. Those two young ladies will advance. Give these kids a nice round of applause.
And now for Senior Showmanship Heat 4, we have Peyton Chanley, Briley Weatherington, Abigail McKeefee, Kendall Sowell, Nathan Vandiver, and Bailey Jones. Let's give these two young ladies a nice round of applause and we'll get the senior finals going. Now, for final drive of Senior Showmanship, we have Sarah Clanton, Harley Rayborn, Brooke Zorn, Kristen Seller, Taylor Gutman, Sarah True, Brooke Dykes, Peyton Chanley, and Miss Kendall Sowell.
All right, in the girl-dominated senior finals out here, give them a nice round of applause. This is a good set, and to be honest, I think it's very close between the Grand and Reserve, and then I think there's an individual that needs to be third. And I tell people all the time when I travel the country that it doesn't matter what species it is. The difference between a good showman and a great showman is a great showman makes it seem effortless. And that's the thing. If you have that ability and have that unique trait, you're going to go far under me. And that is the difference. In the top two, I think the winner just looks more effortless in the approach. That's that young lady right there with the bald-faced calf. You're the champion. You're going to be reserve. That young lady right there is going to be third. Give them a nice round of applause.
Your senior showmanship winner is Miss Sarah Clanton. For second is Miss Kendall Sowell. And third is Miss Harley Rayburn.